Everyone loves unboxing the brand new flip phones when they come out. But what's the truth after several months of using these in the real world? The Z Flip 7 and the Razr Ultra from 2025 have been some of my most heavily used phones in the last several months. One has software that is literally slowing down, and the other is already showing signs of some wear and tear with some dead pixels. Let's get right into it. Let's first talk about the physical degradation. So starting with the Razr Ultra from 2025, this one has the suede back. And even though it hasn't seen too much of the outdoor use, it's mainly my work phone and it stays in an office most of the time. The suede back is actually staying intact very well. And when it comes to the hinge, honestly, both of these hinges have been the best that each brand has brought out. It's expected because they're improving year over year, but I think it's actually showing. In my opinion, the Z Fold 7 hinge improvement actually stands out more than the Razr Ultras because it's kind of solved two things I was noticing before. The first one is that I remember the Z Flip 6 having extra play and some additional creaking when opening and closing the phone. I haven't heard any noise whatsoever on the Z Flip 7 so far. And then the second thing was that the inner screen would make some crackling noise when I put pressure on it in the area closest to the hinge. When I do it on the Z Flip 7, it does not have any of that. No give, no noise, nothing. So that's definitely been improved there. However, the Z Flip 7 is the one that has the small cluster of dead pixels on the screen, and is actually close to the hinge area, or basically almost right on it. And it's very hard to see, so it's not a big deal in my opinion. But it's the first sign of degradation I've seen on a screen from a flipping phone yet. And lastly, the crease on both phones have obviously gone a little bit deeper since I opened them, unboxed them each. But they are both in an area where it's not bothersome at all. I am able to feel a little bit when I pass my finger through it, but it's still the best one that each phone has had. And neither of them are going to be visible in the right conditions. Now let's jump to the cover screens, because after all, that's what separates the clamshell foldables from the rest. As far as updates go, neither of them have released anything that is really changing the way the cover screen feels. They both are feeling very similar to what they did out of the box. The Razr Ultra continues to have nearly unlimited app usage on the cover screen. I was able to find one or two. And the Z Flip continues to limit us for whatever reason. And this difference is what determines how I decided to use my phone. So the Razr Ultra became my work phone because I like to have them separate from my personal phone. And the reason was because most of those apps work on the cover screen, so I don't have to constantly open and close my phone to use it. Now, this is actually where I found one of the limitations, where my authenticator app does not work on the cover screen. It could be because of a security reason and not necessarily a compatibility reason, but when I open the authenticator app, it makes me open my phone to actually view the contents. However, what's good about it is that the pop-up for authenticating works on the cover screen. So for the most part, I don't have to open the phone for much of anything. And I actually tried the same thing with the Z Flip 7, and it did not let me authenticate on the cover screen. I had to open the phone even for the pop-up authentication. So that was the biggest reason for me choosing the Razr Ultra for work. In terms of performance though, this is where there's been some separation. The Razr Ultra is showing that it's slowing down, but it's not because the processor is struggling or the software is too intense. What I think is actually happening though is that my Spotify app, or the widget, continues to stack on. When I'm on the cover screen that you swipe to the left or right to show the Spotify app, it was stacking I think it was 7 or 8 of them, and it was actually slowing down the performance of the cover screen. I'm not sure why it did that, and even restarting it didn't fix it. It stayed with all of those until one of my latest updates that it finally cleared it, and the performance is back to where I expect it to be. This was actually slowing down everything from unlocking the phone to swiping to opening other apps on the cover screen. So it was kind of an annoyance, but it seems to be resolved, at least for now. Hopefully it doesn't come back. The Z Flip 7 on the other hand has had no hiccups like that at all. Everything works perfectly. The Spotify widget that appears on the bottom here disappears after a few minutes of not using Spotify, and it doesn't choke up anything. So even though it has the slower performing chip, it's actually performing better in most cases. So the Z Flip 7 is showing to be more reliable, but it's not really closing the gap at all when it comes to functionality. And the last thing I want to cover is the main software. And this actually came, like a lot of things came to light because of my PhoneUX protocol series that I tested all these different phones on. And the Razr is showing some issues, or it came up during that testing. The first and less severe one is the camera performance on the Razr Ultra. So even though the picture quality has improved quite a bit for the Razr and Motorola has been making some good strides there, the performance of how quick you can take the picture and some follow-up shots is very underwhelming. The second and more severe one is the multitasking, because it came to light during that testing again that it was not able to have a pop-up and split screen at the same time. I don't know why, because the processor definitely has the power to do it. Other phones with weaker processors or the same processors are doing it. But for some reason, if you either have a pop-up and bring up a split screen, it'll close out the pop-up. Or if you try to open up a pop-up with the split screen, it's just not going to open it. And it gives you a warning in the bottom saying that it can't do both. And on top of that, it still doesn't have the 90-10 split on the split screen, which is the most useful improvement that's been added to split screen on slab phones or clamshell foldables. What it basically does is that it gives you a near full screen view when you have it on a regular slab phone. But when it comes to a flip phone, since they're a bit taller, it actually gives you a full screen view of what you would get on a slab phone. So it goes from giving you the best possible performance on a multitasking to this one's actually missing it, and now it falls behind a little bit. And that comes from Motorola not pushing out updates as much. And that's one of the weaknesses with Motorola. They don't keep up with Pixel or Google and Samsung with the updates. And meanwhile, Samsung lets you do both split screen and pop-up. And on top of that, not just one pop-up, you could have multiple pop-ups at the same time. So Samsung is really leading it there, at least compared to Motorola. So from these two, I would say the Razr Ultra has been performing better or holding up better physically, and the Z Fold 7 has been performing better in the software department. But if I had to choose one as my one and only phone, I would still stick with the Z Flip 7. And the reason is because that tiny cluster of dead pixels is way easier and less frustrating to deal with than the laggy cover screen experience I've been dealing with, and the lack of the multitasking functionality that I would expect to have on Android. Plus, I would be getting more software support and quicker releases for features. Here's how I would categorize them. If you want the more versatile cover screen experience and the seemingly better physical build, the Razr Ultra seems to be the better option. But if you want the better main screen experience and the longer and quicker software releases, the Z Flip 7 is the better option for sure. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. And if you did, leave a like and subscribe for future videos. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.